So hello all, good morning or good afternoon, and thank you for being here with us for Microsoft 365 Coimbatore chapter. So thank you very much to the organizers as well as to the sponsors to have this opportunity. And then I again welcome you to this session on demystifying the Microsoft List magic. So Microsoft List is the app that we have been using since since maybe couple of months now, but still just wanted to go into the more depth of it and how it has been evolved on top of SharePoint list. Um, Agenda for this hour will be we will see like how Microsoft list has been evolved on top of SharePoint list, and then what are the capabilities those are being offered by Microsoft list so that we can integrate those easily with Microsoft team. Then we can carry out the power automate automation on top of it, and then even the normal kind of thing that we used to do with SharePoint list, the list formatting magic as well as the developer experience from the Microsoft list. So before starting the session, a quick introduction of me, myself Nanddeep Nachan. I'm Microsoft MVP for Office Apps and Services, Microsoft certified trainer, author of a couple of books on SharePoint framework as well as SharePoint hybrid. And on to the right hand side, here are a few social handles to get connected with me. And with me today is Smita.
Hello all, myself Smita Nathan. Currently, I'm working with Tieto Every as a lead software engineer. I'm having 12 plus years of experience in SharePoint. I'm recently a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm author of one book, and these are some of the social handlers by which you can get in touch with me. So, with that, let's start and let's now see how this Office 65 periodic table looks. So, one of the best ways to understand Office 65 is to start with the periodic table of Office 65. So, this periodic table was created for potential customers and users to easily and quickly understand the products that makes up Office 65 and to visualize the features combined in the areas of each workload. So Office 65 includes several workloads, and the periodic table of Office 65 shows this as being grouped in several areas. So this is where MS List is placed on the Office 65 periodic table. So if you follow the blue line of Microsoft List, it is dependent on SharePoint. So at the moment, it makes its existence into OneDrive.
All right, so even let's see like how the Microsoft list has been evolved over the time. Okay, so before we start our session with the Microsoft list, I just want to take a step back and walk you through with the SharePoint list. I know most of you have already used SharePoint list, but just wanted to set up the ground so that we can explore most of the capabilities of Microsoft list. So to start with, I just want to pay your attentions onto SharePoint Classic versus the modern experience. So when we started our journey with SharePoint on premises, it was entirely classic. Even when SharePoint made its debut into Office 65, it was kind of an classic SharePoint where it was based on top of ASP.NET with kind of an request and response model. But now that we have modern experience coming into SharePoint Online, which is entirely based onto the modern web technologies, including CSS3, HTML5, and most of the other things. And then even we can add our JavaScript based apps or add-ins to this SharePoint modern experience. So at least if you consider just about the SharePoint, SharePoint has got revealed very much from classic to modern experience. But for example, if you just look at from the perspective of SharePoint list, still those were kind of an dull experience because we just had list which are kind of an standing solely like a table into a database, not exactly, but at least the appearance was something like that. So it was just the mechanism by which we can store our data to SharePoint list. Nothing fancy there. We can just keep on creating the columns and we can just dump our data into it. So even for most of the other developers, it was just kind of an a dumping ground where we can just add our data. But now that with these possibilities of Microsoft list, it has got very new features, and again it has got entirely revamped from the SharePoint list. So again, when we started using SharePoint list, it has got many of the usability issues. So first thing was like, where is my list stored? Because for example, if you consider us, we as a technical people, we know where can we look at the list. So obviously we can go to the site contents, we can look at our SharePoint list. So for example, if I go to my SharePoint site, if I go to the site contents, here I can see all of the list that I have. But think of this scenario from the business users. For the business users, it is a bit difficult for them to redirect to the site contents page where they can see their list, add, update their data there. So from the usability perspective, we had those issues. So as a workaround for that, what they used to do is maybe bookmark that particular URL so that they can locate that list, add their data into the list, and start working on that. At the same time, there was even again asked to add those lists into the left navigation so that we can see those lists directly into the left navigation, and from there we can navigate to the list and keep adding, updating our data, or even deleting our data from there. And then again, navigating to the site content was not everyone's cup of tea, because for the business user, if you even consider the recent scenarios, even for the modern experiences, navigating to the site contents for the business user is bit tricky. And again, if you have a look at the SharePoint infrastructure as it is, then what happens mostly that we have a whole lot of sites that we create inside SharePoint. And then again, it is not recommended, but still we keep on creating subsites under each of those site collections. So at the end, we have huge number of SharePoint sites that we are dealing with. And then again, for each of the functionality that we carry out on top of SharePoint, we have list. So that means we create a list, we store our data in form of columns and everything there. And then we have huge number of lists that we are dealing with. So in a nutshell, we have huge number of sites, huge number of subsites, and then we have a huge number of lists. So even it is very much difficult to locate where our list is, because at every time we cannot store our list onto the uh, top level or the root level site or the home site. Again, the reason there are like every time having this kind of a cross call to going to the root site, then getting the data back, it is again kind of a tedious thing. So then in that case, we have various lists lying into the various sites, and don't and then we don't have any kind of a central location by which we are able to locate that SharePoint list. So we are missing that kind of a central location by which we'll be able to access all of our SharePoint list. And Microsoft List exactly come across all these usability issues, so that we don't have to go finding our SharePoint list, but we can have those under one umbrella, from where we'll be able to locate all of those lists. Even we can start working on those lists, and even creation of those lists will be very much easier from that centrally placed location. So here, just starting with this Microsoft list, few of the points that we should consider whenever we start using Microsoft list. So what kind of a business value that Microsoft list brings in? So Microsoft list gives us very kind of templates which we can use for carry out those kind of an business process kind of an automations. We will go through those list templates that we have, but for example, when we start using SharePoint list, we have to think through like what kind of an columns needs to be added, what kind of an formatting that needs to be added to the particular column or on top of those list views. But once we have the Microsoft list, all of these things will be sorted to you, and it will definitely add the business value, so that you don't have to worry too much upon what kind of an format or what kind of a data that should go into the Microsoft list, but it will be handled by Microsoft by giving you the templates. At this moment, we don't have any possibilities of creation of custom templates, but at least there are few business oriented templates which Microsoft has offered as part of Microsoft list offering. And then again, there are two things like personal list versus team-based list. So personal list, that means the list which are only for you, wherein you can store your personal data, and even it can be then shared with your colleagues. And again, the team based, that means the underlying structure for this Microsoft list will be still SharePoint list. And then we will keep on creating our Microsoft list inside SharePoint. But again, there will be a one top view on top of it, which is Microsoft list. And then again, once we keep talking about Microsoft list, SharePoint list, then which one is the best and when to use what. So the basic guidelines here is that nothing like that. Even the SharePoint lists are not going away anywhere. But just this Microsoft list is kind of an evolution on top of SharePoint list. So even you can keep using your SharePoint list, but the main thing here is that Microsoft list are kind of an very much evolved on top of SharePoint list. So again, for example, just to demonstrate that, if I again go back to my SharePoint site, here I already had created few of the lists. So let's say, for example, if I open up any of the list, you can see this list, but this is very boring list. We don't have much capabilities here. We just see few of the columns and we have few data here, but it as a end user, this data doesn't make out to us directly. So what happens in this case is we need to stand out our list so that it will add some kind of a business values. So in the following slides, we will see like how we can will be able to create all those templates based on Microsoft list and carry out all those things. But just one thing I wanted to point you here is that even for example, if you see this kind of a boring list here, or before that, what I will do is let's say we will again go back to the experience of creating list. So once you click new list here, now that you will see that this experience is not of the traditional SharePoint list, but now that we have we have the flavor of Microsoft list coming into the SharePoint itself. So now that whenever we are trying to create any of the SharePoint list, it will give us the Microsoft list capabilities so that we can choose any of the templates, including issue tracker to track any of the issues that we have, employee onboarding till content scheduler. So based on what kind of an content we are targeting and what kind of audiences we are targeting, which will start using this kind of an content, we can choose the template, we can enhance that template, and then we can start using that. And again, for this, we will have one centralized location from where we'll be able to see all those lists. At the same time, for example, if you're not very much happy with the templates which have been provided by Microsoft List and you want to go ahead with your own, in that case, again, you can fall back to the old approach of creating the blank list, and you can start creating those blank lists wherein you will keep adding those columns, even the relation between those columns by yourself. Again, we will be able to import the data from Excel, as well as we will be able to create the list from the existing list. So even you can see here that the creation experience of SharePoint list has been very much evolved. And now that we have the similar experience of creation of Microsoft list right inside when we are creating the list in a SharePoint. And one more thing that I wanted to highlight here is that for example, if I open up any of the existing list inside SharePoint, now this is very plain list, nothing as such, but there is one magic query parameter, which is env, that means environment equal to web view list. If you go ahead with this parameter, what you will see is this transforms itself into the Microsoft list. I know that there hasn't been any much drastic improvement here, but at least for example, if you just want to see like how your plain list will look like when it can be used from Microsoft list window, so this is how it will look like. And then again from here you can go ahead with your list formatting and other things, but at least the point here is that we still have SharePoint list, we also have Microsoft list. So nothing like SharePoint list are going away, and Microsoft list will be the place which will take over this SharePoint list. And then again, we have those improved SharePoint list creation experience that we just saw. It is same like Microsoft list. So with that, let's see like how we can get started with Microsoft list.
So Microsoft List was announced during a Build 2020 event. Microsoft List is more customizable than a task management apps like a Microsoft To Do or even Atlassian's or Trello to display items in a variety of formats. So Microsoft List is now available on all the tenants. So on the first release tenant, that means on the targeted release tenant, it got available by the end of August 2020, and then it was generally made available on all the tenants by the end of October 2020, and now it is generally available on Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft 365 app that helps you to, yeah, so let's go to the demo.
All right, so let's see like how the Microsoft list look like. Okay, so for that, as we discussed, Microsoft list is nothing but an app. So for that purpose, if you go to the your office.com or portal.office.com, in that case, here is this app. So in this app, you can see list. So once you click this particular app, it will open up the Microsoft list. Okay, so let it open. Once it is open from the URL, you can make it out that it is going to your OneDrive. So even from this URL, it is like tenant-my.sharepoint.com/personal/name of the user. So this is obviously getting created inside your OneDrive for Business. So for example, if you want to use Microsoft list, you should have access to OneDrive for Business. Okay. One more thing is that here, this is the entire place, or this is the one place from where you will be able to access all of your list. Because as we discussed, like with SharePoint list, we had that issue that we had to keep searching for the locations where our lists are stored. Otherwise, what we used to do is we maybe have created the links web part, wherein we keep adding the links of the list that we keep using into the SharePoint environment. But now that we have this single place from where we will be able to locate all of our list. And it is very much simple that you can just click new list. The new list will be created. And if you compare this experience with the experience that we had when we were creating this new list from here. So again, from SharePoint, if you click new list, it is the same experience that we have when we are creating the Microsoft list. So from this new, you will be able to create all those lists, and then we'll be able to even see all of those lists here. So as we see here, these are the lists that we have, and then again we can mark any of those lists as favorites. So here is a star icon at the top of any of the list. Once you click that star icon, this will be marked as a favorite, and it will appear into this first tile of your favorite list. So for example, if you are frequently using any of the list, you can just mark it as a favorite, and then it will start appearing into your favorites window, and from there you can start using it. Again, it has got multiple templates which we can use for creation of the list, but that we will explore a bit later. And then all of the list that you create recently, modify recently, or start using recently, they will start appearing into this downside. And from here we also have filter. It is not a great filter, but just that it will show the all of the recent list and all of the list which that particular user has created. So this is only one window from where we will be able to create and manage all of our list, rather than going to individual SharePoint sites and then making hold of each of the list by visiting those SharePoint sites. So this is the only one place by where we will be able to manage all of our list.
Yeah. So Microsoft 365 apps that helps you to track and visualize your information and organize your work in simple, smart, and flexible manner. So evolution on top of SharePoint list is stored in SharePoint sites that can be created and accessed from new Microsoft list homepage, SharePoint Teams app with a modern experience, Microsoft Teams, and mobile apps, that is iOS and Android. Yeah. So at this moment, there are 11 list templates available, out of which 8 are available in web app. However, 3 more are available in Teams, including incidents, patient care coordination, and loans. So Microsoft List offers various templates such as event itinerary, issue tracker, employee onboarding, asset manager, recruitment tracker, traveler request, work progress tracker, and content scheduler, which we will try out bit later. So some of the real world use cases for using Microsoft List, it includes tracking company assets like laptops, desktops. So tracking the contract and the inventory like office supplies, monitoring your daily routine, and even you can track your entire event like this one using a Microsoft list. So Microsoft list user interface will give you the option to start creating a list, so you can make one manually or choose from any of the existing templates. So these list templates are simple, smart and flexible. So you can stay on the top of what matters for most of you and your team, so that you can track issues, assets, contacts, inventory and many more using customizable tool and smart views. Even you can set alert to keep everyone in a sync. You can start with this quick list creation on web, Microsoft list or even on mobile app. While doing that, you can rely on enterprise ready security and compliance features. So, in the history, millions of SharePoint users have been benefited from using a list over the years. So, Microsoft List is a built on the trusted information platform of the SharePoint list, which brings the new user experience and capability to the foundation innovation of the SharePoint list. So additionally, the value of integration with the Power Platform, it will continue even when you need to do further customization, the list forms with the Power Apps and even design your robust workflows with Power Automate. For the developers, the power and the value of the list APIs will help to extend the custom solutions to connect the list data as a source using Microsoft Graph for developers to play around with Microsoft List. So now let's see Microsoft List capabilities. So you can create a blank list and define your own structure, formatting, and data. You can create a list from Excel by uploading an Excel file and choose the table of data that you would like to import. Then you can create a list from an existing list with the same structure, formatting, rules, alerts, and yeah. And then you can create a list from ready-made templates that come with the predefined structures and formatting like track issues, manage assets, organize events, save contacts, manage FAQ. So you can build your customizable views also. You can set and trigger business views, so you can create a conditional formatting, you can even create alerts, you can share your list with your team, you can grant access and manage permissions. Also, you can add comments on the list item level, and these comments are stored within the list key schema itself. So in a comments, you will be able to mention someone by using @ so that user will also get a notification of it. You can edit and order the columns in the form. You can also show and hide the fields in the form based on the specific condition.
Okay, just give me a moment. The PowerPoint seems to be hang. But okay, meanwhile, let's see. This is the newer functionality that we have for commenting and mentioning. So even right now, it is available into the SharePoint list. So for example, if I move to any of the SharePoint list, let's say this timeline, here we have this functionality for commenting. So once you click on add a comment, we will be able to add the comment to this particular list item itself. Okay, it looks like this is a bit hang, but all right. So at least from here, we'll be able to add the comments. Even we'll be able to mention any of the other people, so that they will get notified whenever we are adding the comments. So we'll just here is a comment, and then this will help us to have the collaboration between the users by which we'll be able to mention anyone, take action on that particular item, and then make it to the closer. One more thing is that this particular comment gets stored into the list schema itself, so that it doesn't go into the other list where it can be stored based on the IDs on which this is created, but this is created within that list itself. Okay. Okay, let me see. Okay, still I have some issue with the PowerPoint. Just give me one moment. But all right. So what probably we can do is we can keep looking into the other things. So let's have a look at the homepage of Microsoft List. Okay.
Okay, so this is how the Microsoft List homepage looks. So it's a centralized location built on SharePoint for all your Microsoft List across Microsoft 365. So from Microsoft List homepage, you will able to do some of the actions like you can create a list from scratch or from wide ready-made templates available. You can manage your list in one location. You can bookmark a list as a favorite list, and we can you can you view recent list, my list, and favorite list. Yeah. So this good thing that the Microsoft list provides us gallery view, and let's see how it looks. Yeah. So over here you can see the gallery view of Microsoft list. Now let's see some of these FAQs, like we have already covered them. So the first one is, can I use a Microsoft list in a classic experience? So answer is no. You can use a Microsoft list only in a modern experience. Then might be you are getting thinking that will the SharePoint list go away? No, the SharePoint list will be as it is, will be there, and where Microsoft lists are stored. So the Microsoft lists are getting stored on OneDrive or SharePoint site. So depends upon selection while during the list creation. So while creating any list, it's totally depends what type of selection you are doing. Then there are something that come to your mind that can I export Microsoft list to Excel? Yes, like a SharePoint list, you can also export your Microsoft list to Excel. And then you will think that can I use a Power Automate and Power Apps with Microsoft List? So the yes, like a SharePoint list, you can use a Power Automate and Power Apps to do some of the customization on your Microsoft List. Does this Microsoft List supports conditional formatting? So yes, it supports for the conditional formatting. And can I apply list formatting magic on Microsoft List? So yes, you can do that.
All right. So let's see some demo of a Microsoft List, and let's explore all of the templates that we have here. So this is the list homepage from where we'll be able to create new list. So let's click new list, and let's try to create a issue tracker. So once you click any of the template, you will see a demo, or at least a glimpse of how it will look like. So in the issue tracker, we will have few of the columns as being shown here, and this is the experience that we will get upon creating that particular list. And once you are happy with this particular template, you can click use template, and it will create a list for you. At the same time, for example, if you change your mind, you want to switch to another template, from the left panel, you can still select any of the other template and go ahead with that. So let's say we want to create an event itinerary to manage the events like this, wherein we can store the session names, the speaker, these session codes, a description, and other things. Again, for example, you will be able to comment on each of the items that we have, or each of the sessions that we have here. Once you click use template, this will give us the option to create the list. I already have one list created with even itinerary, so I will just mark it as one. Here we can give the description, a short description about what we want to store inside this list. And then we have something here called as choose a color. So we have few of the predefined colors available from Microsoft, which we can choose, and then that particular color will be available in the background when we are seeing this list onto Microsoft list homepage. Secondly, we have icon, which represents this particular list. So we have limited option here, but at least we can choose the icon, and then that icon will be placed on top of that Microsoft list with the background which we have chosen previously. And this is how it will look. The major thing here is where these Microsoft list will get stored. So depending on where you are creating that. So for example, if you are saving it to my list, in that case, this particular Microsoft list will be created inside your OneDrive. So that means it will be a personal list to you until and unless you share that list with the other users. They won't be able to access this list, and even they won't be able to play around with the data in that particular list. So if you want any of the list, only for you, where you want to store your personal kind of a data, you can create it as a my list. For example, if you want to get it stored into any of the other SharePoint sites, so these are all of the other SharePoint sites which are Office 365 group connected. So you can select any of those Office 365 group connected site, and then even you can store this list into that site. And then once it goes to the site, whether do you want to show that into the site navigation and other things. Once you click create, it will create a list, but again it will be a blank list, that there won't be any data inside that. So for that purpose, let's explore any of the other templates that are offered by Microsoft when we are creating Microsoft list. So I will start with this employee onboarding. Maybe I will just duplicate this tab so that we'll be able to see all of the templates available. So let's start with maybe first one, which is employee onboarding. So employee onboarding template will help you for onboarding of your employees. So for example, when any of the employee onboards into your organization, we have certain set of tasks that he should perform. So for example, he should sign off the offer letter. Then we have tasks for the IT uh, who will help them set up their laptop. Then again, we have the project team with which they should get introduced, and then even they can set up one-to-one kind of meetings with those team members, and then they can get familiarized with the product which they are going to work on. And then again, there are few of the other organizational level compliances that they should follow by attending the mandatory trainings, or even any of the other processes inside the organization. So this kind of a list template will help you there, so that once the employee joins onto your organization, you can create this maybe as the my list kind of an capability for that employee, so that he will be able to see all of those checklists that he should follow on a week by week or a day by day basis. So you can keep adding all the work that he should do, all the tasks that he should do as a part of his onboarding. And then again, here are other supporting columns wherein you can add a link to the relevant files or relevant other links which he can look into while creating that. And again, once, for example, once he's done with that part, he can just click onto the link, and then he will be able to mark this as a complete directly from here. Okay, so then he can mark it as a complete, and then he can start moving. So this kind of templates will help us to create those data. Let's say let even explore one more thing, which is issue tracker. Because as we are working onto any of the product, or even onto our projects, we have issues that keep on coming into the bucket of each of the developer. And then again, we have priority status, even the issue score for all those issues. And then again, for example, if you have any images, that will defines that particular issue. So this template will help you to track all those issues, so that maybe your tester can log one issue here. He will give all those information about the issue, like the description, the steps to the produce, and then from here he will be able to even assign that issue to anyone. And from here we should be able to track all those issues. And again, when we are walking through this session, we will also see like how we can even automate this kind of an issue tracking by using something called as Power Automate. So we will keep that as a surprise towards end. The other capabilities that we have, for example, event itinerary. So let me look out for that. So event itinerary will help us to arrange or manage the events like this one which we are attending. So wherein we can specify these sessions, the code for the session, the speakers, session type, description, and other things, by which we are kind of in creating a view by which the attendees of this particular bootcamp or that particular event, they will be able to get the direct insights or the direct view by which they can see all of the sessions which are happening. For example, if they want to carry out any kind of a discussion, again they can go here, they can add it as a comment, and then it can be taken care. So based on what kind of a scenario which we want to create inside our organization, we can leverage these kind of templates. So again, we have other templates. Probably we will not go through each of those, but again, we have other templates called as asset manager, which help the organization to track their assets. So as an organization, most of the organization do carry some kind of a BYOD, that means bring your own device. And again, they want to track like to whom that particular device has been assigned to, what kind of an apps or devices configuration that we have on each of those. So all those kind of an information can be tracked through this asset manager. And then we have something called as recruitment tracker. So this will help HR to have the recruitment process done, right from scheduling his interview till his onboarding process. And then we have travel request to track the travels, and then what are the mandatory things that we should do for the travels and other things. So let's say we will again try to go to this travel request. So again, here we can track those things like the reason to travel, who has requested, the destination he wants to travel to, the travel start date, end date, the duration, the airline which he will use, the estimated airfare, the hotels where that particular employee will live into. So from here, just imagine the number of business cases that you can create, because each of the request here goes to each of the departments. So for example, for a travel, it will go to the travel department. For airline, it will go to the airline department. Then for the uh, hotel kind of things, it will go to the team who manages the hotel check-in and check-out. So based on this kind of templates, we'll be able to define all those business scenarios. So let's not go into each of those, but at least this will give you the fair idea of how it is works. And then we have this content scheduler at the end, which is kind of a bucketed list wherein you can keep tracking your items which we are working on, and then from there you can schedule your content. So for example, any of the content that should not go live when it is created, but you can have it approved, and then from there it can be scheduled into the internet portal or any of the other portal where you want to publish that content to. So at least this is how this Microsoft list and all of the templates will help you to create your business cases within your organization. So then we have something called as Teams. So with this pandemic situation, we have been using the Microsoft list very much, and then we want to do most of the things inside Microsoft Teams. So let's see like how Microsoft list gives those capabilities by which we will be able to create that unified experience on top of Microsoft list. So again, once it comes to the Microsoft list, inside Microsoft Teams, this is just an app which is available to you. So for that reason, if I again go back to my Microsoft Teams, from here, I will be able to add the Microsoft list, and then we will be able to use that. So let's say for here, I will try to find that app called as list. Okay, it is a bit slow today. All right, so just bear with me. And but again, one more thing is, since this is just an app inside your organization, again from the admin center of Microsoft 365 or from the admin center of Microsoft Teams, you will be able to make a control on it, like who should have access to that particular app and other things. So for that purpose, if you go to Teams admin center, let it open. So from this team admin center, we will be able to define whether our organization wants to use that particular app, or we don't want our organization to use the Microsoft list. So under Teams app, if you just go to manage apps, so from here we have those all org-wide app settings. And from here, we will be able to define whether we want everyone to use this app or not. Again, we can set up some kind of policies on top of any of the apps that we have. Again, since Microsoft List is just an app, we will be able to define like whether this app should be available for other employees to add into the Microsoft List or not. So all those kind of capabilities can be done inside Teams Admin Center. So with that, again, let's go back to Microsoft List. Let's click, sorry, Microsoft Teams. Let's click Apps, and from here we'll be able to add the Microsoft List app. Since I don't have any restrictions on what kind of an app that can be added to my tenant, I should be able to quickly see the Microsoft List, but let it load first. All right, it is taking some time. All right, I think it is loading now. So this Microsoft list will be a simple app that we can add into Microsoft list, and then from there we'll be able to create the list and we'll be able to use that. So here, if I just search for list, it should be able to locate that. Okay, all right, so we have this Microsoft list here. Let it come through. So from here, we can just click on that. We can click add to the team, and from here, we'll be able to add that. And again, at the same time, it supports many of the languages, including these many languages, even including Hindi. So we can just click on add this app to the team. From here, we'll be able to add it to any of the teams. So let's say we want to add it to the Busted Minds general channel, and then we will just click set up as a tab, and we should be able to create that list, which will be added as a tab inside Microsoft list. So let's click save here. And here we have the option like, do we want to create a list or do we want to add an existing list? So we will go ahead with the creation of list. So once we are here, we can see all of the templates that we have available. But one thing to notice, for example, if I again go back to my web portal, here we have ability to create list from only 8 templates, including issue tracker till content scheduler. At the same time, if you compare that experience with Microsoft List, we have 3 more variety of templates available, including incidents, patients, and loans. So these are the 3 more templates that we can add additionally to Microsoft List. So let's say we will just try to add patients. So again, if you need, you can go back and change the app you want to use, or change the template you want to use. I will just make it full screen so that we'll be able to have the full experience. And in this, we'll be able to keep a track of patients. So let's say even in this COVID kind of a situation, if any of the hospital, they want to make a track of their patients, they can easily rely on to Microsoft List. And we already have other capabilities in Microsoft Teams, wherein all of the doctors, nurses, even the patients, they can communicate with each other. So this kind of a template will give more flexibility by which hospitals will be able to maintain the record of patients very easily, and then even including kind of an insurance that each of the patient has, the gender, the diagnosis, and other things which are related to that particular patient. So once we click use template, from here we'll be able to create that new patient list, which is only available for Microsoft List. So here we can name that, we can provide the optional description if you want, and then again we have option here to choose the color and even to choose the icon. From the team's perspective, this doesn't mind anything, because I think this is the only kind of an experience which has been offered by Microsoft List. So the same way we have it here, but again from the team's perspective, choosing the color and icon doesn't have any sense until we are able to see that Microsoft List here, because over here only we'll be able to see all those icons and the colors. But from the team's perspective, it will be just that list which is sitting in a tab. So we'll just go ahead with this selection that we created, and we will click create. So once we create, that particular list will be available for us to work right within Microsoft Teams. So that again we can click on new item, and from here we will be able to create our list. So here we can list item. So here we can define the legal name of the patient, then the insurance if he has any, and then the other information about that user. And once we keep adding that information, again we will have the flexibility to add comments and other things. So this is the experience of Microsoft List within Microsoft Team. And again, for example, if I move back to this portal, if I refresh this, we should be able to see the patient list somewhere here. But okay, I don't think I don't, but okay, I think this was created a bit earlier, but again this will take some time to get our list reflected here. But sooner we will have our list reflecting here based on when we created. So let me again just try to refresh on this part. But okay, so sooner we will have our list being reflected here. But this is the experience by which we'll be able to create Microsoft List right within Microsoft Teams. And then we don't have to leave Microsoft Team, go to the Office 365 portal to create a list and add it as an app inside Microsoft Team. But just from the same window, of Microsoft Teams, we'll be able to create our Microsoft list, add it as a tab inside our list. Even we'll be able to use that for adding the items and other things. Now that if you see, if you see here, this particular list has been added as a tab, so that we can use it right within Microsoft Teams. So in a nutshell, Microsoft Teams offers. Okay, I think let me just deny this. All right. So in a nutshell, this thing offers you. Okay, one moment. Just give me one moment. I think I messed up with my PPT. All right. So yeah. So in a nutshell, this gives us very much flexibility by which we'll be able to create that list app right within Microsoft Team, and we will be use it within Microsoft Team whenever needed. So this was the demo. Now that next thing, like we need to see how we can even take the other flexibilities from Power Platform to create some kind of an automation on top of this Microsoft list. We have been using maybe Power Automate to automate our business processes, including any kind of an approvals. So for an example of that is, let's say we are applying for a leave. We will maybe create an item inside SharePoint list, and then in the background we will have a Power Automate flow which can detect the manager of the employee who has applied for the leave, and then from there we'll be able to create this Power Automate flow which will create a task for our manager for that leave request, and then it can go through. So similar way, since Microsoft list is created on the same infrastructure of SharePoint list, we'll be able to even take this advantage of creating the Power Automate on top of Microsoft list. So let's see like how we can make use of those. So if you remember that at the starting of session, we said that we will probably use any of the list. So let's say maybe issue tracker list, and from this issue tracker list we want to use this for generating some kind of an automation. So let's consider a scenario wherein we want to track our issues from this particular list, and then all of these issues that we log here, they have some kind of a status and priority associated with that. And then we, for example, any of the issue comes that which is with critical priority and which is with blocked kind of a status, so that no one is able to work on that. We want some kind of a mechanism by which we'll be able to get notified of that maybe on Microsoft Teams, and then any of the available member can start working on that. So let's see how we can build those kind of a scenario with Power Automate. So right now I'm into the Power Automate, and I already have connected to my issue tracker list. So the simple thing what we are carrying out here is that whenever a new item gets created or modified inside this list called as issue tracker, we just check on two conditions on that particular item, which is the priority and the status. So if the priority is critical and the status is blocked, in that case what we can do is we'll simply post a message onto Microsoft Teams so that this the critically blocked issue has been reported and someone should look into it. So this is a very simple example of it. So let's say now that if I go back to this list and I will create a item with some name. So let's call it as critically blocked issue. So the priority for this, we will set it as critical and status as blocked. Okay. All right. And the status is blocked. And now that we will not assign it to anyone, we'll just click on save. So now that in the background that Power Automate will run as the same way it is used to run onto the SharePoint list item. And once it runs, it will be able to detect that this particular issue which has been reported now is critically blocked and someone should look into this on a priority basis. And then it can send that particular message to our team, which is Busted Minds here. So let me open up that team also. But even probably I can skip this demo. One moment. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let it be. So once this Power Automate flow will run, let me run it manually just to save our time. Um, and once it comes here in the general channel, we should be able to see that particular message coming through that the critically blocked issue has been reported, and someone should start looking into it. So at least this kind of a scenario which we can build with Microsoft List as well as we used to build with Microsoft Teams. So probably we will not spend time looking into that message. You just have to trust me that it works. All right. So we will maybe again look back when it will be done, and then we should have a message here saying that a critically blocked issue has been reported. But just to move forward, this is how we'll be able to integrate the Microsoft list with the Power Automate as we used to do with SharePoint list. Then again, next thing is list formatting support for Microsoft list.
So the list formatting includes two things. One is the column formatting and second one is the view formatting. So you can use a column formatting to customize how fields in SharePoint list and libraries are displayed. To do this, you just need to construct a JSON object that describes the element that are displayed when a field is included in a list view and the styles to be applied to those elements. The column formatting does not change the data in the list item or a file. It only changes how it displays to users who browse the list. So anyone who can create and manage the views in a list can use can use this column formatting to configure how view fields are displayed.
So as an example, let's see this list or even this is a list that we had used with Microsoft 365 Developer Bootcamp, which was carried out by Microsoft, which was led by Bob German, Alka, and Arabia Williams. So in that bootcamp, we had created this suppliers needed kind of a list. So this is again on top of Microsoft list. But now that if you look at this data, this is very dull data that we need to supply few items to the people who are in a trouble. So we want to supply them with flashlights, water, medicine, and even other things like paid supplies. So if you look at this data right now, it is very dull data. We have to read through this. But now let's see how we can make it more intuitive by creating something called as list formatting. So for that purpose, I will just click on this column setting, and then format this column. Right. So okay, this is not the way. Yeah. So once we are here, one moment, let me just do it one more time. Oh, I think my mouse is clicking double here. All right. So from here, at least we'll be able to edit these styles, like how this all of those fields should look like. For example, if it is food, then it should be with blue background with rounded boxes, and text is in darker blue. So we will be able to do that, which is good. But now that let's say we want to even go ahead more and want to show this in some kind of an more intuitive way. So what we can do is again, yeah, one more thing. For example, if you don't like this, you can click this icon. You can again click more styles, and from here you will be able to choose the fill color for this paid supplies. Even for example, if you want to use any of the other font colors for these, and for example, if you want to add any kind of an icon next to that, all those things can be done here. But let's say for example, if you want to go beyond this and we want to go have more control for us. So in that case, what we can do is we can just click on advanced mode here. And now that we have this JSON with which we will be able to work with. So with each of these divs that we have, we can play around, and then we can create our own um, own structure of data on top of it. So for that, I already have one JSON with me, which I will just copy paste here. I will share that with you later. But now that if you just click on preview and save this, now that we have a clear indication that we need a flashlight somewhere, we need water somewhere, we need medicine somewhere, we need the paid supplies as well as the flashlight at some locations. So this is how we will be able to carry out that kind of an formatting on top of Microsoft list, right? Um, One more thing is that again, this was just the column formatting, but again, for example, if you want to carry out some kind of a view formatting, we have few great samples from Chris Kent, who is kind of a list formatting magician. So do look out for his samples onto the GitHub. So there is a link down below from where you will be able to see those, but at least he has created those view formatting samples for employee onboarding so that you will be able to, or once employee done with his task, he will be able to mark it as completed, and this is how it will look. Similarly, he has also went ahead and created some list formatting for issue tracker, by which you will get some kind of a gallery view wherein you will be able to track all those things immediately. Even for example, if it is completed, this will be kind of a striked out information. Even for example, if it needs your attention, then it is marked with red kind of an background and red text, so that it will make out your intention, your attention, and then again to whom this has been assigned to, so that all those information can be seen into a gallery kind of a view. So I will encourage you to look at his samples that he has created on top of Microsoft List. So lastly is like, let's see how the Microsoft List provides the developer kind of an experience for us. So when it comes to the development model, we are obviously worried about does Microsoft List provides any kind of an REST APIs, any kind of an graph APIs which we can work with to work against the Microsoft List. So the answer is very much simple, that since Microsoft List is created on top of infrastructure of SharePoint List, we can use all those possibilities of using REST APIs as well as Graph APIs. Even we can use the SharePoint Online PowerShell. Even we do have a good PNP support for Microsoft List. And here we have a very good video by Paolo Pialorsi, wherein he has explained like how we can use the PNP along with Microsoft List. Even he had went ahead and downloaded that list as a template, and then from that template he has created another list. So this is a good sample to watch out. But quickly let's see like how we can make use of the SharePoint Online PowerShell, maybe to play around with our list. So for that purpose, I already have a list or the sample which is ready. So what I will do is I'm connected to my list which is inside my Office 365 tenant called as issue tracker. So let me just open that up, issue tracker. I think this is the same list that we had used earlier. Oh, I think I have too many tabs open now. Let me go back to Microsoft List and open up the issue tracker quickly for you. So this is the issue tracker list. What we will do is, now that I'm already connected to that site, and then I got context of that list. So now that we have the context by which we'll be able to get the context of that SharePoint site. And then what we can do is we can get the list, which is our issue tracker list. Okay, so this is the same code that we have been using with SharePoint, CSOM or yeah, CSOM kind of things. So now that we have got to the list, which is issue tracker, right? Next thing that we can do is we'll just try to create one item, a single list item inside that particular list. Right. So let me copy this code. This is the same code that we have been using. Even I will share it with you. So I just have created a simple item here, and now it should appear here sooner. So this item will be just the item which is created from PowerShell. Now you will be able to locate that at the very end. But this is the same code that we have been using with SharePoint list. The same code we should be able to use with Microsoft list. So there is potentially no difference between using this Microsoft list versus SharePoint list. You can use the same online PowerShell PNP support as we used to do with SharePoint list, right? And then again, we do have some control settings for Microsoft list. So for example, if you want to disable creation of personal list, that means you don't want users to store the personal list onto their OneDrive, you can run this command by which they won't be able to create those personal lists which are stored onto their OneDrive for Business. And then, for example, if you don't want any of the particular template to be available while creating, so we have lot many templates available here. But if you want to hide any of one of these templates, or maybe all of these templates, you can run this command and specify those template IDs. Those template IDs can be seen from this reference link at the bottom, but you can specify those template IDs, and you won't be able to create a list based on those templates, right? So yeah, Miss, at least we just went through this demo. And then again, last part, these are few of the good references which you can use to get started using Microsoft List. aka.ms/ms list is the reference which you can use to get started with Microsoft List and start using it. And again, we do have good starting references from other MVPs called as Mohammed and then from SharePoint Europe. So I will encourage you to read through these helpful articles which will help you get started your journey with Microsoft List. So I think that was all from my side. Thank you very much for having us. And here are few of the social handlers by which you can get connected with us if you have any issues after this session. But yeah, thank you very much for having us and thank you for listening. If there are any questions, we can take those. Yeah, back to you, Jaykumar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought
Hi.
no one was able to hear me. All right, yeah.
We heard you.
Okay, right.
So thank you, Nanddeep. So it was a really informative session about the list and how it comes. So I think we have got few questions in the chat window. So if you or Smita could answer that, or we have 10 more minutes for the next session. So if someone wants to ask a question, maybe you can raise the hand using the Teams option. Then we will unmute you so we can have an interactive
Right.
also.
Okay. So I'm just going through the questions in the reverse order. From OneDrive, people picker will work. Sorry, I did not get by that, but at least, for example, if you are just mentioning about the comments section, then yes. So at least you will be able to use that @ mention, and by which you will be able to refer to the people who you want to ask those questions.
Hi,
So
Nanddeep, Sani here.
yes, sir.
Sorry to disturb you. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wanted to know that, as you said, that list will be stored in OneDrive, right? We can
Hmm.
save in our OneDrive for my
Yeah.
purpose. So suppose I'm saving into OneDrive, and it is, and that time my people picker will work. It will take the people from the AD and it will show the data over there.
Yes, yes, correct, correct. So for example, once you store these list as a my list, that will go into the OneDrive, so that only you will have access there. But again, you will be able to use that people picker by which you can you will be able to add few more people to start collaborate onto that Microsoft list. Then we have that commenting functionality. Again, through which you will be able to mention any of the other people.
So people picker I can see, and I can add also people picker from there itself, from my OneDrive, right? No need to again back coming to SharePoint site and doing all those stuffs, right? So in OneDrive itself, I can manage everything.
Yeah, because these are just the schema, so all of those things are available to you. So, for example, if you are referring to this, let's say we have this list for employee onboarding, which is stored to your OneDrive. And now that if you click new, we have kind of a people picker here, which is for mentor. So even yes, you will be able to use or mention any of the other users here.
Okay, so no, this is okay. This is coming from OneDrive. Okay, okay, fine. So it will be like say. So exactly then, what will be the difference between list and normal list which we will use? Like, I don't think any much difference are there, right? Like both are almost same. So
Yeah, miss at least
if we
the
want to
same.
check,
Yeah. Yeah, means at least the same experience is flowing through Microsoft list from SharePoint list. So it is like earlier we just had SharePoint list, and again there are kind of in usability issues. But now that we have this Microsoft list, which will give us the flexibility of list homepage, wherein we'll be able to create as well as manage all of our list from one place. And the same experience is now carried to SharePoint list, by which even if you are in SharePoint, you will have the similar experience of creating this Microsoft list. So here you can either use any of the templates, or even you can go ahead with the classic approach of creation from blank.
okay, so all the normal functionality like item level permission, running flow on this, everything is going to work, right?
Yes, yes,
So
everything will work. Yes.
okay, okay. Thanks, mate. Thanks. Good
Yeah, thank you.
session. I will like that one. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nanddeep, this is Raji, and I have a similar, the question on the same way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to understand, is there any really a difference between, or is there any advantages or disadvantages by creating the list from the OneDrive and creating the list from the SharePoint site?
Yeah, miss, at least there is no advantages or disadvantages as such, but this Microsoft list will just give you a centralized location from where you will be able to manage all of your list. So since we are kind of a technical people, we know that we can go to a SharePoint site contents, then we can locate our list and we can start working from there. But again, there are few lists which are kind of a business oriented list. And then to those lists, everyone should have access or a place from where they will be able to better collaborate on that. And then Microsoft List just provides that place from where we'll be able to locate or collate all those lists at one place. And then even the business user can start working from here directly. And once it comes to creation, you can either specify. So let's say, for example, if you use this my list, it will go to OneDrive. Otherwise, for example, if you are creating this inside any of the group connected site, in that case, it will be only available to the users who are inside that site or who are connected to those Office 365 groups. Okay.
Okay.
And also
Sounds
in the
good.
comments, you will able to use that mention functionality. So the user will get notified for it.
So only the thing is like the Microsoft List will give you one consolidated place from where you will be able to manage all of your list, as well as you will be able to create your list, so that we don't have to keep visiting SharePoint sites to locate where our lists are.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And one more question on to, I think you mentioned about one that browser level parameter, like not browser level.
Oh yeah,
Into the
correct.
URL, we can mention about env.
Correct.
Can you come again on that?
Yeah, right. So it is like this is the Microsoft list. So for example, if you open up Microsoft list, you can see this parameter like which is env kind of an environment equal to web view list. And again, for example, if you go back to your SharePoint site, if I open any of the list, so this is the plain classic list that we have. But if you just want to enable the Microsoft list kind of an experience on top of it, you can add that parameter, and this is how it will look when it will be kind of a transformed to Microsoft list. So at least this will not have a huge or drastic improvement over what it looks, but at least this will give you some kind of a nicer look and feel. So that's it only, nothing else.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, if there are any other questions, please feel free to unmute instead of me.
Seems though Shivaji wants to ask a question. You have raised a hand. Did you?
Yeah.
Shidol. Yeah.
So 5,000 limitation can be overcome on this?
No,
Like
those will
threshold
be
value
still.
limitation. Yes,
No,
threshold
those
value
will be still there. No, those threshold thing will be still there because this Microsoft list is just created on the same infrastructure of SharePoint list. So the limitations that we had in SharePoint list will be continued in Microsoft list also, because those are on the same infrastructure.
Okay, no, because I thought like it is on OneDrive, so it might be overcoming. So okay,
No.
thanks, thank you.
So, yes, if we have any other questions, we have 5 more minutes for the next session. So if we have any questions regarding the previous sessions, so feel free to ask. So you can utilize this time.
Okay, there's something I think we can integrate to-do list with OneNote. Not sure if Microsoft list can be integrated. So it won't be integrated as it is that we had flexibility for to do, because to do is itself created with some different schema or with some different intentions. But this Microsoft list, you will be able to maybe add it to Microsoft Teams and other things very easily. So it won't be directly added to OneNote, wherein.
Right. 3 minutes.
Okay, do we have any integration between OneNote and Microsoft List? Nothing as such, because OneNote it is again kind of an desktop based or again web based version, but you can just add a link to Microsoft List, but nothing as like the to-do functionalities. Yeah, we can use Power Automate, Power Apps with Microsoft List. Oh, okay, sorry, this was the answer from Smita. All right. Okay.